Amazing discovery, Soldier and K9 expose hidden voices of a little girl who felt unwanted. Sam Lawson's life had become routine, each day blending into the next like the fading paint on the walls of his small apartment. He moved through the motions, his only vibrant companion a shaggy fur ball named Rex, who mirrored the silent struggles of his owner. Once a proud soldier, Sam now wrestled with ghosts that seemed to cling to his skin, shadows that whispered of failure and regret. In his heart, he felt like a forgotten relic of the past, left behind in a world that had moved on without him. At the community center, he volunteered diligently, his mind occasionally drifting to darker places. Each smile from the children around him weighed against a fear that he, too, was unwanted. It gnawed at him, the cloying sensation of inadequacy that swept through him like a chill wind. Could he ever shake the scars of his military service? Could the laughter of children remedy the hollow echo of loneliness filling his chest? That fateful afternoon, the sun streamed through the dingy windows as he began rummaging through dusty boxes crammed in the corner. He sifted through old toys and broken chairs, struggling to find something meaningful amid the debris of forgotten dreams. And then he stumbled upon an old, tattered journal, the edges frayed, pages slightly discolored. The name scribbled inside read Emma. Curiosity piqued. As the words came alive, he felt the weight of her pain bleed off the pages. But why should I care? He muttered under his breath, his heart racing. Here was a child whose world painted with neglect mirrored his own battles with invisibility. She spoke of longing for love amid her family's struggles, her writing raw and heartbreaking. The intensity turned his mind into a maelstrom. Could he really intertwine his healing with this little girl's whispered agony? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His impulse was undeniable, a relentless urge to share Emma's story, to give her voice a platform. He envisioned teaming up with Clara, the local artist, hesitating between dreams and the biting reality of judgment. Together, they could channel Emma's words into art, giving life to her struggle and, perhaps, their own as well. But doubt clawed at him. What if he failed? What if Emma's family found out? Their shame and fear could silence her again, erase any hope of expression. And then, the ticking clock in the back of his mind echoed with the knowledge of his own demons. He, too, carried scars that formed chains of anxiety around his heart. Standing against that looming family might unravel him. Each day drew closer to the exhibition, and with it, the clashing forces of acceptance and denial swirled in turbulence. That night, as he lay on the roof with Rex, the velvety darkness cradled him like a familiar embrace. Stars twinkled, distant and indifferent to the turmoil raging in his heart. What if, he whispered, facing Emma's truth means confronting my own? The thought lodged in his chest like a stone. Could a forgotten child's voice truly awaken him from his self-imposed slumber? And would he find the courage to stand, once and for all, against the very shadows that haunted him? The weight of uncertainty pressed down on him, rooting him in place as the stars above continued to flicker. The morning sun nudged Sam awake, its golden fingers brushing against his face. The remnants of a restless night filled his mind, echoing with Emma's words as if they were etched on his eyelids. He lingered in bed, longing to push the thought away, but it clung steadfast like an uninvited guest. Today, he felt the pressure of decisions weighing heavily on his shoulders, each choice looming larger, each moment more decisive. As he slowly descended the stairs of his apartment building, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the window, eyes sunken, jaw set, and a steely determination hidden beneath layers of vulnerability. He concentrated on each step, focusing on the solid contact of his shoes against the pavement, grounding himself in the now. Today, he would seek Clara. Today, he would confront both Emma's silence and his own. Arriving at the small studio where Clara often worked, he found her amidst a chaotic swirl of paint tubes and canvases, an embodiment of artistic chaos. Her brow furrowed in concentration, she was lost in her world, a stark contrast to him, who felt shackled by the weight of his thoughts. "Hey, Sam!" she greeted with enthusiasm, her voice brightening an otherwise dull morning. "What brings you here today?" He hesitated, the words dancing just beyond his reach. "I found a journal," he began, the unease pooling in his stomach. "It belongs to a little girl named Emma. I think she needs us." The atmosphere shifted, the air crackled with the tension of revelations yet to come. Clara paused, her paintbrush hovering midair, her intrigue palpable. "What's in it?" "Her story," he said slowly. "It's filled with pain, longing. Then we have to do something." Clara exclaimed, her voice rising with excitement and fear. "Let us turn her words into something beautiful." Sam felt a flicker of hope ignite in his chest. Together, they could craft a narrative that echoed Emma's struggles, but as he nodded along with Clara's enthusiasm, the nagging doubt returned. What if we fail her? What if it only brings more pain? Clara's gaze softened. But what if it helps? What if her words reach someone who understands? We cannot ignore the chance to give her a voice, Sam. Her words clung to the air, sparking a flicker of resolve within him. Would this be the moment he finally stood up for someone else? It was safe to remain seated in the shadows, carefully hidden from the harsh light of judgment. But embracing discomfort could lead to something transformative, not just for Emma, but for him. Days turned into a whirlwind of collaboration as Sam and Clara worked tirelessly to translate Emma's words into art. Each stroke of the paintbrush, each word typed out, acted as a cathartic release for Sam, unraveling threads of his past while weaving new connections. They spent late nights fueled by coffee and companionship, the barrier between their worlds shrinking with every shared story and laughter echoing through the studio. Still, the specter of his past haunted him. On quieter nights, thoughts of his military service would sneak in, reminding him of the isolation he had felt then just as Emma felt now. Would he be able to shed the scars that tethered him to a history of shame? Their deadline loomed closer, pushing him toward a breaking point. The doubts relentlessly clawed at the back of his mind, threatening to drown any glow of hope. Just when he thought he had gathered the courage to speak up about his own pain at the exhibition, he received a text that turned everything upside down. Emma's mother knows what you're doing. She wants to meet. Panic surged through him, paralyzing thought and action alike. How would he confront the reality of what they had done? Would he be able to stand tall when faced with the fragile connections he had begun to form? In that instant, Sam realized he was still the soldier fighting a war not just for Emma, but for himself. The walls he had built were crumbling, but could he face what lay beyond? And deep down, a chilling question hung in the air: was he ready to face the consequences of giving Emma a voice? The days that followed were a tumultuous blur of activity for Sam. Every brush stroke, every keystroke, seemed to pulse with renewed urgency. Clara's unwavering enthusiasm pushed him to delve deeper into Emma's story, yet the weight of the impending meeting with Emma's mother hovered over him like a dark cloud. Would he be able to articulate the essence of Emma's voice, to convey the emotions that had driven him to this point? "Why do you look like you've seen a ghost?" Clara teased one afternoon, sensing his unease. "I'm just thinking," he replied, attempting to sidestep her probing eyes. The truth was far more complicated. He felt like an imposter, grappling with his past fears while trying to advocate for someone who had dealt with her own suffering alone. Clara's bright confidence in the project brought out both admiration and shame within him. "Thinking can be paralyzing, you know," she said, setting down her paintbrush and crossing her arms. "You have to put yourself out there, Sam. What we're doing is important. Emma's story transcends everything, even your fears." Her words ignited a flicker of rebellion within him. He had spent too long remaining hidden in the shadows. Perhaps, by allowing himself to be vulnerable, he could help Emma find her strength. He turned his focus back to the artwork they were crafting together. Each colorful swirl on the canvas mirrored the chaos in his mind, and yet, it also beckoned clarity. It dawned on him that creating this narrative for Emma wasn't just about her voice, it was also a way for him to confront the parts of himself he had avoided. As deadlines crept closer, he found himself waking early, the sunrise casting shadows across the studio. It was during one of those quiet mornings that he decided to take the plunge. He would share his experiences, his fears, and how they intertwined with Emma's journey. Trying to keep his voice steady, he reached out to Clara, who was adjusting the colors in the piece they were finalizing. "I want to open up about my own story too. I can't ask Emma to find her voice without doing the same," he stated, the tremor in his voice betraying the determination he felt inside. Clara spun around, eyes wide with encouragement. "Absolutely. That's it. It's part of the narrative. We can showcase your growth alongside Emma's. They're interconnected." But the excitement of joint vulnerability was quickly washed over by a wave of dread about meeting Emma's mother. The uncertainty of how she would perceive their efforts hung heavy in the air. "You can't let fear dictate this moment. You're strong, and your story matters," Clara reminded him perceptively. That night, sleep eluded him as his mind spiraled into a labyrinth of self-doubt. He questioned whether he was ready for the confrontation, whether he could hold his ground when facing the consequences of their actions. Did he have the right to speak on Emma's behalf? The morning of the meeting arrived cold and brisk, the air filled with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Sam stood in front of the studio mirror, smoothing down his shirt, a futile attempt to calm his racing heart. With every breath, he reminded himself, this was not about him. It was about Emma having what she didn't have before: a voice, an advocate. But just before he stepped out, he received another text that made his heart drop. "Are you sure you want to do this? Emma's mother can be unpredictable." Each word pulsed with a new layer of uncertainty. What if his determination crumbled under the weight of reality? His hand hovered over the studio door as he replayed Clara's words in his mind, "This matters." Stepping outside, he braced himself for what lay ahead, his pulse quickening with resolve. He had committed to this path, both for Emma and himself, but was he truly prepared for the emotional storm that awaited him? At that moment, a decision crystallized within him. He would face not only Emma's mother but also the daunting truths about his own past, no matter the cost. It was time to confront the haunting shadows of doubt, for only then could he truly give Emma the voice she deserved. And as he walked toward the uncertain future, a new question formed within him: what other hidden truths would come to light with this confrontation? The meeting spot was a small cafe tucked away from the bustling streets, the kind of place adorned with local art and the smell of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air. Sam took a moment to compose himself before entering, drawing in a deep breath that didn't quite settle his nerves. The walls felt like they were closing in as he approached the table where Emma's mother would soon arrive. Sitting alone, he mentally reviewed his intentions, almost like rehearsing lines for a performance. Today, everything mattered, today would be pivotal. Clara's words echoed in his mind: "You can't let fear dictate this moment." Yet, despite that resolve, a new layer of uncertainty gnawed at him. What if Emma's mother dismissed their work? Would she reject the connection he wanted to establish? He was treading on fragile ground, and he could feel the weight of each choice pressing heavily on his shoulders. As the door swung open, a gust of wind followed Emma's mother into the cafe. Her expression was guarded, framed by long strands of hair that fell around her face like a curtain hiding secrets. Sam's heart raced as she approached, and he rose to greet her, almost stumbling over his own words. "Hello, Mrs. Fallow. Thank you for meeting me." She regarded him with searching eyes that seemed to weigh his sincerity. "It's just Emma's story you said you wanted to discuss?" Her tone was cool, almost accusatory. Sam swallowed hard, quickly nodding. Yes, I hope to share with you what we've been working on, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. With a gesture, he invited her to sit, and launched into a brief overview of their project, attempting to present Emma's narrative as a powerful illumination rather than just a retelling. But as he spoke, he could feel Emma's mother's skepticism radiating through the air. Her lips pursed slightly, her brow furrowed, and Sam felt an internal shift of urgency. This was no longer just about Emma, it was a reckoning between truths, his, hers, and Emma's. Emma had her story hidden away, he insisted, and it was important to us to bring it to light not just for her, but for anyone who feels they don't have a voice. The moment he uttered those words, he felt a jolt of realization. This wasn't merely project work, it was his own emotional excavation. Sam was revealing pieces of himself he hadn't even planned to share. Was he prepared to expose his scars, intertwining them with Emma's mother's pain? He was vulnerable, but possibly too vulnerable. As he leaned into Emma's facts, he allowed bits of his own experience to seep through, articulating how he recognized in Emma a part of himself, someone who had struggled with being unheard, overwhelmed by fear and insecurity. It was a tightrope walk, balancing professionalism with personal truths, yet he felt the authenticity of it coursing through him. Her expression shifted while he spoke. Sam caught a moment of softness, though it vanished quickly. And what if I don't approve? What if I think you're meddling where you don't belong? The challenge suffocated him, but he steadied himself, refusing to back down in the face of her intensity. I believe I do belong. We aim to honor Emma's voice, not smother it. If I can't advocate for her in this way, then I've failed both of us. A silence enveloped the table. Emma's mother leaned back, a flurry of emotions flickering across her face. It was a pause layered with tension and unanswered questions, a recognition of the complexity they all faced in silence. In that moment, Sam realized how intertwined their lives really were, and the stakes were higher than he'd imagined. He wasn't just fighting for Emma's voice, he was fighting against the very fear that had held him captive for so long. With an unexpected heaviness, he posed a new question that ignited a spark in his heart. What if sharing Emma's truth could change the narrative for all of us? Wouldn't that be worth facing our vulnerabilities together? Emma's mother's gaze met his, holding a weight of its own, poised on the cusp of understanding or denial. Would they find a way through the tangled emotions and hidden stories? And as he waited for her response, a potent question loomed in his mind: could they truly unravel the past together, or would some truths remain forever unspoken? Silence stretched between them, an unspoken weight that filled the air with unresolved tension. Sam could see the internal battle flickering in Emma's mother's eyes. The question hung, vulnerable and fragile, waiting to land softly or shatter against the harshness of reality. Taking a deep breath, he searched her face for any hint of understanding. I don't know, she finally said, her voice quivering slightly. You talk about Emma's voice as if it's something we can just extract and display. What if the truth is too painful? What if we end up opening wounds that never really healed? He hadn't considered that angle. The possibility of re-traumatizing Emma was sobering. How could he advocate for something so potentially harmful? Yet, as he looked at Emma's mother, he sensed an unexpected thread of strength in her uncertainty and unguarded vulnerability that mirrored his own. It drew him in. I understand your concern, he responded slowly. But, isn't the cost of silence greater than the risk of pain? Emma's experiences have shaped her. What if they could also provide catharsis and opportunity for healing? Emma's mother leaned forward, gripping the edge of the table. You want to use her pain as a tool for change? That sounds noble, but it feels self-serving. You're not the one who has to live with the repercussions. Her words cut deep, and for a moment, Sam faltered. Could he truly claim authority over Emma's narrative when he had never experienced the raw edges of her traumas? It forced him to confront a raw bone of truth within himself. His desire to help wasn't enough. He needed to listen, to validate the fears and doubts of everyone involved, most importantly, Emma herself. Maybe it started that way for me, self-serving, he admitted slowly, but I want to be more than that. When I see Emma, I see a reflection of myself. It scares me. If I'm honest, sharing this story is as much about confronting my own fears, my own need to take the stage and be heard. Emma's mother scrutinized him, her expression a mixture of disbelief and contemplation. You think your journey is the same as hers? Not the same, he clarified hastily. But I want to break the cycle of silence that suffocates so many voices, including my own. Maybe helping Emma share her truth is the way to start doing that. For a heartbeat, the cafe's ambience faded to nothingness as Sam shared his revelation. In that space, he wasn't just presenting a project, he was bearing parts of his soul. The air felt thick with unspent emotion, a shared vulnerability that had the potential to connect them beyond the facade of mere acquaintances. Yet, as soon as it had flickered to life, doubt pulled at him again. What if Emma's mother couldn't see beyond her protective instincts? What if she refused to trust him enough to support her daughter? Emma's mother stared at him, her expression shifting into cautious consideration. Let me ask you this, if we decide to move forward, how will you ensure that Emma feels safe? That this doesn't become about you? Sam's heart raced, and he knew he was at a crossroads. He could choose to pitch more arguments for his case, or he could delve deeper into understanding. I've been thinking of ways to approach this. I'd like to involve Emma in every step, creating a collaborative space where she guides us on what she is comfortable revealing and when, he proposed, the words coming with increasing conviction. It should be her story, not ours. The vulnerability in his voice resonated in the small cafe. Her guarded stare seemed to soften, the layers of her skepticism cracking just slightly. She's been hurt. I don't want to put her in danger again. Then let us ensure this never feels like danger, Sam urged. We can frame it as a journey, one where her feelings matter most. A flicker of hope sparked between them, tethered by the shared intention to protect and elevate Emma's voice. Yet, in the dim corners of that cafe, the shadows of doubt still loomed large. As they struggled to reconcile their fears with their aspirations, Sam felt an unmistakable shift within himself, a revelation dawning. The journey wasn't merely about Emma's story anymore, it was about confronting truths that loomed in both their lives, altering the paths they had forged until now. As the exchange deepened, a new question bubbled within Sam, demanding attention. Were they prepared to dismantle the fears, not just for Emma, but for themselves? Could they navigate the murky waters of honesty and vulnerability without losing sight of what mattered? That uncertainty unfurled before them, a dark yet electrifying canvas upon which change could unfold. The conversation was poised for a transformation, but the question lingered in his mind: could they tear down the barriers, or would they remain forever locked in their individual silos of fear? Sam sat in a dim corner of the cafe, the hum of conversations encasing him in a bubble of determination and doubt. Emma's mother had left moments ago, her words echoing in his mind like a cautionary tale. As he sipped his coffee, he realized this was more than a mere advocacy for Emma, it was a confrontation with the very essence of who he was and wanted to become. He had always been the type to seek validation through demonstration, the storyteller who shaped narratives to project strength. But this time, the stakes felt different. The thought of Emma's pain intertwined painfully with his ambition, highlighting a truth he could no longer ignore: helping others meant grappling with one's own vulnerabilities. In that moment, he knew that the next step lay in crafting a plan. Emma deserved a voice grounded in authenticity and agency, not simply an echo of his own desires. He pulled out his notepad, the blank pages daring him to fill them with ideas that would honor Emma's journey instead of manipulating it. What he realized was startling. Each line became less about the what and more about the how. How could he build a space where Emma felt secure enough to share? How could he approach her pain without exploiting it? This was the crux of his own growth, learning to prioritize listening over speaking, understanding over assuming. His thoughts wandered to Emma's mother's face, the complex emotions playing across her features. She had the fierce instinct of a protector. The urgency to reassure her was palpable. He needed her to see that this wasn't just about Emma sharing her narrative, it was about dismantling the silent suffering that many shoulder alone, which he too had witnessed and feared in his own life. As he wrote, his internal dialogue flared with questions. What if he set up a series of dialogues with both Emma and her mother? Genuine conversations where fears could be voiced, and boundaries established. He envisioned creating a small workshop environment, inviting Emma to express, sketch, or even write her experiences, giving her tangible ownership of her narrative. Sam was not only crafting a project, he was initiating a profound relational understanding with two women whose lives he desperately aimed to honor. With each stroke of his pen, he carved out possibilities while re-examining his motivations. Was he equipped to handle the emotional turbulence that could arise? The fear of failure lurked like a shadow, creeping into his psyche. But the burgeoning idea of collaboration was invigorating, it offered him a light at the end of the tunnel. The café's atmosphere shifted as sunlight filtered through the windows, illuminating his newfound determination. This was his chance not just to help Emma, but to grow into a more rounded individual, capable of empathy and care beyond his own fears. The realization washed over him by training himself to be present for Emma, he was giving himself the skills to address his own wounds. But just as clarity emerged, a stark revelation hit him. The path ahead was littered with uncertainty, and navigating it would require brutal honesty and courage. Emma's voice would not just emerge through a simple project, it would require a collaborative excavation fraught with potential discomfort for all involved. As the thought resonated within him, a familiar knot of anxiety twisted in his stomach. Would he truly be able to respect Emma's narrative while confronting his own? The question loomed large, taunting him and igniting a sense of urgency. He realized that the hardest part wouldn't just be about collecting stories, it would involve unraveling his deeply rooted fears and insecurities layer by layer. Suddenly, the door swung open, and a gust of wind accompanied Emma and her mother as they re-entered the café. Sam's heart raced in anticipation. He was at the brink of something transformative, but would they be ready to join him on this tumultuous journey? Could they all face their truths together, or would they retreat into the shadows of their fears once more? The sound of the door echoed in Sam's ears as Emma and her mother made their way to the table where he sat, each step mirroring Sam's rising heartbeat. As they approached, he took mental stock of the emotions swirling around him. Anticipation mingled with apprehension and forced a grin, attempting to mask the whirlwind inside. He had envisioned this moment, and in framing it, he had constructed a path towards vulnerability, yet here it was, palpably real. "Thanks for waiting," Emma said, her voice soft but steady. Her mother nodded appreciatively, tension visibly dissipating as she settled into a chair. Sam could see a flicker of concern in her eyes, perhaps stemming from the weight of the conversation they would soon engage in. Was she questioning his intentions? The thought stung momentarily, but he resolutely focused on their shared purpose. "How about we find a cozy spot in the corner," he proposed, motioning towards a secluded booth that promised a level of privacy. Emma's mother hesitated for a moment, seeming to weigh the comfort of familiarity against the need for candid discussion. Then, she nodded, leading them to the chosen sanctuary. Once settled in, Sam could feel the atmosphere shift. Conversations around them became mere background noise as he focused on the moment before him, like a spotlight illuminating their trifecta. Clearing his throat, he leaned slightly forward, embracing both excitement and trepidation. "I've been thinking a lot about what we discussed the other day. I'd love to hear what both of you feel about creating a space to share your stories," he began, careful to structure his words with clarity. "This isn't just about Emma speaking up, it's about all of us coming together to confront what's been left unsaid." Emma shifted in her seat, her bright eyes catching Sam's. The gentle encouragement he hoped to convey was met with a mix of hesitation and curiosity. "What kind of space do you mean?" she asked, her brow furrowing with the question. The sincerity in her voice touched him, igniting a spark of hope. I'm envisioning a workshop where you can express yourself however you want through writing, drawing, or even talking. A place where you decide what to share and how. Sam noticed a flicker of interest light up Emma's face, though he remained attuned to her mother's scrutiny. Why is this so important to you? Emma's mother interjected, her protective instincts on guard. You seem invested, but we need to understand why this is happening now. The query struck deeper than Sam anticipated, revealing his raw nerve of ambition tangled with altruism. Here it was, a challenge to confront the authenticity of his motives. He took a deep breath, ready to peel back the layers of his resolve. It's important because I understand how isolation feels, he confessed, the words flowing freely now. There were times in my life when I felt unheard. And realizing I could be part of someone's story not just as a narrator but as a listener, it's a chance for me to learn too. Silence spread across the table as both women absorbed Sam's honesty. He could feel recognition bloom in their eyes, both were grappling with their own fears and hesitations. Eventually, Emma spoke, her voice resolute despite the tremor that gripped it. I want to be heard. I really do. But no one gets to take my story from me. Relief washed over him. They were beginning to delve into real conversation, sharing the weight rather than avoiding it. Absolutely, Emma. Control will be yours, this is all about you. I'm just here to facilitate. Her mother, seeming to relax slightly, caught Emma's gaze and exchanged a silent communication, a bond of understanding amid uncertainty. Sam felt renewed vigor bubbling within him. Each response was an opportunity to explore new depths of their experiences, and even as questions about what lay ahead loomed, something shifted inside him. They were embarking on this journey together. As the session continued, he began to fear less and embrace the prospect of discomfort. What they were charting was new territory, not just for Emma, but for himself. Yet, just as discussions began to flow more freely, Sam noticed a shift in Emma's demeanor. She drew back slightly as a tension built in the small space they occupied. The walls began to close in, and he could sense an undercurrent of unspoken fears pressing upon her. What's wrong? He asked, concern etched into his voice. Emma glanced nervously towards her mother, exhaling sharply. What if it's too much? What if we never really dig into it? What if I reveal too much? Sam shifted, the weight of her doubts settling heavy on his shoulders. This was the crux of their endeavor, a fragile balance of vulnerability and safety, and as he looked in her eyes, he realized they were at a precipice. Everything hung in the balance, and before them lay the choice to leap into the unknown with each other. Then we go slow, he suggested, his voice steadying. We take it one step at a time, together. No pressure. Even as he spoke, doubt lingered. Would they truly be able to tread the delicate tightrope of truth and fear? As doubt flickered within him, the pressing question hovered like a specter: was he really equipped to honor both their stories and his own vulnerabilities in the process? The silence lingered, thick with the weight of unspoken fears. Sam felt as if he were standing on the edge of a crevasse, teetering between the choice to leap into deep, transformative conversations or to retreat into safer territory. He caught Emma's eye, emboldened by the determination flickering within her. Her vulnerability mirrored his own, and he committed to this shared exploration however daunting. Okay, Emma finally said, her words tentative yet defiant. Let us try. But I want to set some rules. No pushing too hard, okay? If something feels too intense, let us just backtrack. Sam nodded, appreciating her proactive stance. Establishing boundaries wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a show of strength. It was an implicit acknowledgement of the emotional terrain they would be navigating. He could see the tension begin to ebb from her shoulders, indicating the ascent towards trust. Turning his attention to her mother, Sam felt the weight of her scrutiny anew. Is that acceptable? He asked, hoping to engage her in the process too. Emma's mother inhaled deeply, weighing her thoughts. Finally, she spoke, as long as there's respect for Emma's boundaries, I think that's a reasonable approach. The lines on her face softened slightly, revealing a willingness to step back and allow Emma to take the front seat. "Thank you," Emma whispered, her relief palpable. Sam sensed this very exchange was a turning point not just for Emma, but for all of them. "Let us begin," he proposed. "Why don't we start with something simple? Maybe share a memory or a moment that made you feel the most you?" Emma's face lit up with trepidation but also a spark of genuine interest. Sam's fear ebbed slightly, replaced by the electric anticipation of discovery. She took a breath, the corners of her mouth turning down into a contemplative frown. "I guess, one time, I drew a picture of my dream world. It was colorful and happy but I never showed it to anyone." As she spoke, Sam listened intently, allowing her words to wrap around his thoughts like threads weaving a tapestry. What Emma was revealing was more than a simple regret, it was a glimpse into the fabric of her identity, an identity interlaced with unvoiced dreams and hidden fears. "Why not show it?" he asked gently. "What held you back?" Emma's eyes gleamed with unshed tears. "I felt it wouldn't matter. No one really cared what I thought or dreamed. So, I kept it to myself." That insight pierced Sam deeply, resonating with his own hidden struggles. "But maybe it matters more than you think," he replied, his own voice tinged with vulnerability. "What if your story could inspire someone else, like that picture could transform how they perceive their own world?" Emma studied him, her hesitation momentarily relinquishing its grip. "Maybe. But what if it just opens more scars?" "That's the risk we take," Sam admitted. "But isn't it also an opportunity? To learn from each other, to heal?" Emma's mother quietly observed them, internalizing the weight of their examination. Sam's heart raced as he considered the ramifications of their shared understanding. He felt the atmosphere around them shift, as if the burgeoning connection was forging a security net, a thin, but resilient thread woven from trust. But just as the air grew lighter, Emma's expression darkened. "I don't know if I'm ready to heal. It sounds scary." The tremor in her voice reverberated in Sam's chest. It was a reminder of the responsibility he was taking on, one that pushed him to confront his own fear of inadequacy. As a facilitator, could he truly guide them through the storm? "Then we don't have to. We can just sit with that fear for now," he said, acknowledging her feelings with sincerity. This wasn't about imposing action, it was about validating emotional truth. Her mother, now fully engaged, leaned forward slightly. "Remember, feeling scared doesn't mean you have to act on it. It's okay to take your time." This simple affirmation echoed through the booth, as Sam reflected on the power of allowing space for fear. The discomfort nestled beside hope, they could coexist. But just as they began to forge deeper connections, a familiar shadow crept in. Doubt gnawed at Sam, questioning his adequacy. Was he truly ready to guide them through the labyrinth of vulnerability? He felt an urge to speak again, but suddenly, the door swung open, revealing a figure from his past, someone who could challenge all that he was trying to build. His stomach knotted, and his mind raced. There was a vulnerability he had yet to confront, one that threatened to unravel everything he was trying to create. In an instant, his focus shifted from Emma to the newcomer. What are they doing here? He wondered, his heart taut with apprehension. How would this impact their fragile journey, their exploration of voice and stories? Every instinct told him to shield what they had begun, but he knew that avoidance never yielded growth. The confrontation with his past was imminent, testing the strength of the sanctuary he had just begun to create. The figure entered, and Sam's breath hitched in his throat. It was Ryan, a face from a chapter of his life he had buried deep. The shock was twofold: Emma's apprehension in his peripheral vision and the memories of past judgment looming over him. Ryan's presence conjured a turmoil of emotions in Sam. They had once envisioned changing the world together, but ambition had unwound the threads of their friendship, revealing jagged edges of betrayal. Every interaction with Ryan held the potential to drag Sam back to his own insecurities, to unravel the architecture of trust he had begun to build with Emma. "Sam," Ryan greeted, his tone casual yet loaded with unspoken challenges. The way Ryan scanned the room, his eyes landing on Emma for a fleeting moment, sent a tremor through Sam. Did Ryan recognize this moment was not just a social encounter, but a vulnerable expedition into deeper connections, exposing fragile truths? Sam's focus snapped back to Emma, noting her unease at Ryan's arrival. Confronted with the complexity of emotions swirling, Sam felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. It was vital for him to be the anchor now, the bridge that could help both Emma and himself navigate this moment. We were just talking about vulnerabilities," Sam said, attempting to steer the conversation away from the crackling tension. "About showing our true selves." "Sounds heavy," Ryan replied, a crooked smile forming on his lips. "You really think it's worth the risk? I mean, isn't it easier to just keep quiet, not expose yourself to all this?" He gestured vaguely, almost dismissively, at the emotional openness that Sam was trying to cultivate. The casual derision in Ryan's voice felt like a dagger to Sam's resolve. This was a moment of vulnerability, one that demanded respect, not dismissal. He drew in a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Emma's presence grounding him. "Isn't necessarily the same as right," Sam countered, firmer than he intended, his voice steadying at the edge of conviction. "Sometimes, the hardest things lead to the most growth." He glanced at Emma, who seemed to be holding her breath. The two of them were on a precipice of discovery, and even Ryan's cynicism couldn't completely sever that connection. "What matters is that we open ourselves to the possibility of understanding, to healing." Emma remained focused on Sam, her eyes reflecting a mix of anxiety and curiosity. It seemed she was searching for a foothold in this chaotic moment, a testament that they were not entirely untethered amidst this emotional storm. Ryan smirked, shaking his head. "Idealistic much, Sam? You really think bearing your soul is worth it when the pain seems to be the only guarantee?" The challenge was clear, and Sam felt the urgent need to rise to it. "Pain has its place, Ryan. But it shouldn't define us. It can teach us. It can unite us. Don't you think our experiences, however painful, can contribute to who we are becoming?" As the words tumbled from him, Sam felt something shift. The doubts that had clawed at his heart began to wane, replaced by a burgeoning confidence. A sense of clarity washed over him. This was not just about Emma's journey anymore, it was about reclaiming power over his narrative too. Ryan's demeanor shifted, a flicker of discomfort crossed his features, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. Instead, he leaned back, arms crossed in defiance. "Or it can leave you broken. Kind of like you and me, remember?" The jab landed hard, but it also sparked an unexpected revelation in Sam. The confrontation was uncomfortable, yet the challenge forced him to acknowledge the parts of himself that still felt broken, an admission he had long avoided. Recognizing those fragments was a critical step, a necessary condition for growth. "Yeah, I do remember," Sam conceded, his voice quieter but resolute. "But that doesn't have to be the end of the story." The silence hung between them, thick with layers of meaning. Emma remained still, observing the exchange with rapt attention, perhaps beginning to see the possibilities lying within their struggles. Just as Sam sought to redirect the focus back to her, Ryan interjected, "So what, you're going to inspire a little girl by reliving your failures? Good luck with that." The challenge now felt personal, igniting a fire of determination within Sam. His fear of inadequacy morphed into a resolve to embrace confrontation, not shun it. Each word Ryan spoke was a brick in the wall Sam was ready to break down. "Maybe I will," Sam shot back, his courage swelling. "And maybe it's more than just a little girl we're trying to inspire here." The room's energy shifted, thick with confrontation, and Sam realized this was at the moment where truth could unfold, where heartfelt revelations could lead to transformation despite looming doubts. As the confrontation took root, a realization dawned upon Sam: he had the power to redefine his relationship not just with Emma, but with Ryan. The tension was his opportunity to reclaim voice, shaping a narrative instead of letting it shape him. With every instinct urging him to push forward, Sam steeled himself for what would come next. The stakes were high, but this was his chance. The moment had come to face foundations he thought were long buried, ones that could lead him towards the clarity he desperately sought. Could Sam transform this chaos into understanding, or would the weight of the past pull him under? As he prepared to cast the shadows aside, a single question reverberated within him: what truths were waiting to be exposed next, and could he rise unscathed through the storm? As the confrontation unfolded, Sam's heart pounded. He had unsettled old wounds, but the urgency of the moment beckoned him to define his own path. "You're right, Ryan," he breathed, capturing both Emma and her mother's attention. "I've faced my failures, but that's why I'm here. I can't hide from them anymore. I need to change, to reconcile the past." Emma's eyes widened slightly, sensing the shift as Sam turned his focus back to her. "I can't let uncertainty stifle your voice. You've waited too long to share." His determination radiated through him, morphing the air laden with apprehension into a window of opportunity. "Say you want to find your voice," he implored, "and I'll help you pave the way." Sam felt the essence of resolving his personal struggles intertwine with empowering Emma, setting the stage for growth devoid of fear. Emma's gaze flickered, a cautious acceptance glistening within her depths. "I want to, but I'm scared." There it was, the breach between fear and desire, a chasm they both felt acutely. "I was scared too," he admitted, voicing the very insecurities which had haunted him. "The fear never truly disappears, we just gain the tools to navigate it. If we do this together, we can find strength in our vulnerabilities." He glanced at her mother, hoping to evoke a shared alliance. "Together, we can thread your story with understanding, not pain." Emma's mother observed them, the tumult within her demeanor softening slowly. "It's about what Emma is comfortable with," she reminded them, yet there was a subtle shift, her tone less cautious, more open. "She deserves a choice, to voice her feelings without fear of judgment." The synergy in the room turned electric, threading Sam's resolve with Emma's uncertainty, each moment steeped in anticipation for what lay ahead. Sam caught Emma's gaze, tying her courage to the fabric of honesty he had slowly begun to weave. "Let us take steps together," he said softly. "No rush, no pressure." As they settled into the new framework of their collaborative safe space, he felt renewed purpose surging within him. It wasn't definitive clarity, rather, it was an acknowledgement of their shared journey. They were now embarking on an expedition of discovery, armed with their shared truths. Days morphed into a conscious commitment, a transformative ritual where Sam, Emma, and her mother came together in the quaint confines of the café. With each meeting, the lingering shadows bravely ebbed away as they shattered walls built from hidden fears. Emma blossomed before Sam's eyes, her sketches transforming her feelings into vibrant expressions. Sam felt each brush stroke of color counteract the monochrome shades of his past nightmares. They assembled stories, peeling layers off their souls. They grew stronger as individuals while learning the beauty of shared vulnerability. Emma's mother began to share, too, her own experiences woven into the narrative. Unbeknownst to them, the conversations transformed their lives more profoundly than any of them anticipated. They emerged transformed, weaving a tapestry that draped them in newfound energy. One poignant afternoon, while examining Emma's latest painting, a breathtaking visual echo of her childhood dreams filled with color, Sam felt a rush of gratitude wash over him. He marveled not just at Emma's talent, but at the therapeutic power of their collaboration. "I never thought this would feel so freeing," Emma said, her voice steady, filled with sweetness. "Thank you for believing in me, Sam." With the weight of shared accomplishments, Sam's heart swelled. He had successfully intertwined his growth with Emma's, gaining the very recognition he previously craved from his own trials. "No, thank you, Emma. You're the one who's inspiring us all to find our voice," he replied, brimming with pride as each layer of past hollowed-out feelings was replaced by light. The last meeting unfolded like a serene resolution. Emma had decided to publicly display her paintings alongside the stories of her journey. It was an affirmation, not about existence or fear, but a celebration of her revelation, the essence of allowing her voice to resonate distinctly. As they unveiled the collection, Sam stood back, eyes scanning the audience's faces, strangers captivated by Emma's vulnerability. The beauty of shared experience illuminated the room. The moment felt monumental, marking the start of not just Emma's ascent but his own. As applause filled the space, Sam realized he had transformed immensely. He was no longer shackled by his past or sentiments of worthlessness. He had cultivated a space of healing, acceptance, and a long-overdue sense of belonging. In that moment, he recognized the importance of embracing vulnerability not just for others but for himself. The shadows had receded, and a confidence bloomed within him that he had never thought possible. The exhibition was more than a culmination, it was a doorway to fresh beginnings. And as he stood there, beaming with pride, a wave of motivation surged through him, a commitment to continue channeling the lessons learned into his own life. Sam had evolved from a shadow-laden soldier shackled by despair into a man defined by purpose, propelling others toward their truths, forever intertwined with Emma's journey. This was his moment of triumph, not merely arising from personal demons, but evidently grounded in revitalized connections. The shadows had not just faded, they transformed into points of strength, an artful acknowledgement of every battle fought, forever honoring the voice not just of Emma, but of all those yet to find their own. The journey would never truly end, this was only the beginning. Now is the moment to reflect and act. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support, it truly makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this heartwarming conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful journey of transformation. Your support fuels these personal overcoming stories. We appreciate you.